Welcome, everyone. And sorry for the little bit of a delay that we've had in terms of coordinating the service. But we're ready to roll. There is it. Alex is back. Woohoo! All right. Yeah. I know. Been a headache, but you're here, and that's what matters. Yes. All right. So we will begin. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining this online service of the First Unitarian Church of Alton on this 20th day of December 2020. I'm Robin Berkeley, and I am a worship associate as well as the president of the congregation. And our service today is being led by Michelle Bryant-Barbeau. The First Unitarian Church of Alton is a small but mighty lay-led congregation located in Alton, Illinois. Typically, our services would be held there at the church, but because of our pandemic, we are virtual. So we either do our services here on Facebook, so we can connect with people live, and we stream the service on our YouTube page. So welcome and thank you. Today we are honoring solstice. This is the longest night of the year. It holds special significance to many people, and Michelle today will take us through a better understanding of the symbolism and the meaning behind honoring the solstice, and I'm so excited to have her with us today. We hope to see you all in Alton sometime soon, once we have our vaccinations and we can return to service together face to face. In the meantime, we welcome everyone to this very, very special place that is filled with comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. And we begin our worship with a prelude played by Joy Heft.
Thank you.
All right, so if you have a candle nearby, please join us as I light my own and we recite our unison words for the chalice lighting. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Okay. All right, Michelle, for your opening word.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your patience this morning and your willingness to be here. I'm Michelle Bryant-Barbeau, currently sitting in brown-skinned, feminine presenting body on likely stolen indigenous land here in the middle of these United States. My heritage comes from half of the story is likely stolen from another land. And transported to this one where my ancestors, incredible friends, neighbors, teachers, mentors, and loved ones have given me the opportunity to thrive. So wow, That's a lot. That's a lot to hold in one body. And I bet you if you look at your lives has a lot of complex, paradoxical things that you're holding as you walk around and live and love and thrive and cry and grieve, enjoy and celebrate. That's a lot. So one of the things I wanted to bring to us today as we gather with this winter solstice on the eve of the winter solstice, the longest night, when it gets dark and cold, especially in our Western culture, we immediately cut on the lights. We immediately gather our blankets in and get snuggly and warm and try to get as comfortable as possible. And that's real. And I do it too. I just changed out of my fuzzy pants. However, there is also the work of holding all of these other stories, all of this grief. We don't even have to talk about 2020, just layered on top of all of those other things. So the work of holding and solstice this year hits a little differently. And so I just want to honor that and take some time to share that together. And also talk about capacity and what that could look like and what we could learn. So continuing on, I would love us to move into the time of all ages, where we talk a little bit more about light and dark and solstice, and something a little funner before we go deep and dark.
Absolutely. I'm honored to share this story. It's called The Long Winter Story, a folk tale for children. And it's a delightful story about winter and the light and the dark. Before any humans walked the earth, when the world was the land of the animals, a very long winter set in. The sun did not come out for 3 years. The air was always dark. Thick clouds hung low and covered the sky. It snowed all the time. The animals were suffering very much from this long winter. The lack of food was alarming enough, and the lack of heat made it all absolutely unbearable. They became greatly frightened. The animals called for a grand council to be held. All beasts and birds and fishes of all sizes and shapes were invited. At the grand gathering, as the animals looked about, they realized that one creature in all the animal world was missing, the bear. Then they realized no one had seen any bears for 3 years. All the animals quickly agreed that the most important thing to do was to find out what had become of the heat, for without heat, their suffering would never end. Yes, the heat must be found, and it must be brought back again. They decided several quick and brave animals would go on a search mission to the upper world. That's where they suspected the heat had been taken. These are the animals chosen for the mission: the lynx, the fox, the wolf, the wolverine, the mouse, the pike, and a dogfish. It's kind of a small shark, which is kind of a weird name for a shark, if you ask me. After much traveling far and wide through the air, the group finally found the hidden doorway that opened to the upper world. Excited, they all climbed upward to the world above. After exploring the upper world for some time, they saw a lake. By the lake burned a campfire with a teepee beside it. By the teepee were 2 young bears. They asked the cubs where their mother was and were told she was off hunting. Inside the teepee, a number of big round bags were hanging up. The animal visitors pointed to the first bag and asked the cubs, "What is in the bag?" "That," they said, "is where our mother keeps the rain." "And what is in the second one?" the animal said. "That," the cubs answered, "is the wind." "And this one?" "And that is where mother keeps the fog." "And what may be in the last bag?" said the animals. "Oh, we can't tell you that," said the cubs, "for our mother told us it was a great secret. And if we tell you, she'll be very angry and will bop us on our heads when she returns." "Okay, don't be afraid," said the fox. "You can tell us. She'll never know." Then the cubs whispered, "That is the bag where she keeps the heat." Ah, said the visitors. They glanced at one another and stammered their goodbyes. Outside the teepee, they rushed to a hidden spot and held a quick council. Their first agreement was to quickly move as the mother bear might return at any time. This they did and found a safer place to hide. The next topic was much more difficult: how to capture the bag with the heat. We need to distract the old mother bear somehow, said the fox. I know, said the lynx. I'll change myself into a deer on the other side of the lake. Good idea, said the wolverine. The mother bear will see you across the lake and she'll want to hunt you. She'll have to paddle her canoe across the lake. That will give us plenty of time to get the bag with the heat. Better yet, squeaked Mouse. I'll chew a deep cut in the bear's paddle near the blade so it will take her even longer to canoe across. Yes, yes, cried the others. So Lynx went around to the other side of the lake and turned into a deer. Now, as a deer, he wandered near the edge of the lake to attract Bear's attention. In the meantime, Mouse scrambled into Bear's canoe and chewed a deep cut in the handle of her paddle close to the blade. The others hid near Bear's teepee. When one of the bear cubs saw the supposed deer across the lake, he cried out, "Look at the deer on the opposite shore!" The old mother bear immediately jumped into her canoe and paddled towards it. Deer walked slowly along the beach, pretending not to see the canoe so as to tempt the bear to paddle up close to him. Then all at once, Deer doubled about and ran the opposite way. Old Bear threw her whole weight on the paddle to make it go faster, and the paddle broke suddenly where Mouse had gnawed it. The force of Bear's weight threw her into the water. The other animals were watching the hunt from the other side, and as soon as they saw the mother bear floundering in the water, they ran into the teepee and pulled down the bag containing the heat. One at a time, they tugged the bag through the air toward the opening to the lower world from where they had come. They hurried to get back to the opening as fast as they could, but the bag was very large, and none of them was able to keep up the pace for too long. Whenever one tired out, another would take the bag, and in this way they hastened along as quickly as they could, for they knew that the old mother bear would soon get ashore and return to her teepee, and that when she did, she would discover the missing bag. Then she'd be furious and follow their footprints to catch him. Sure enough, the old mother bear was soon in hot pursuit and had almost overtaken the animals when they spied just up ahead the opening to the world below. By this time, the stronger animals were all so tired they could hardly move at all. Now, Dogfish took the bag and pulled it along a good way, and finally Pike managed to inch it along some more. At that very moment, Bear lurched toward them. All the animals together pushed the bag until it tipped through the hole to the lower world, and they each jumped in after it to safety, just in time. And as soon as the bag dropped to the world below, it broke, and all the heat crammed inside the bag rushed out. The warmth spread at once to all parts of the world and quickly thawed the ice and snow. Floodwaters ran high for many weeks, but then the water subsided. The trees and bushes and flowers, which had been covered by ice, grew green leaves once more, and springtime bloomed anew. From that time till now, the world has always seen a warm season returning after a cold one, just as we see it today. Okay, our next hymn, our first hymn, is Come, Come, Wherever You Are.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no care of honor, of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no care of despair. Come yet again, come. Wanderer, worshipper, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving,
That was good.
That was beautiful. I love that.
I love that one. So thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, whoever you are, whenever you are. If you are live or seeing this some point in the future, welcome. I'm doing this in the style that I'm familiar with. So I am a witch and pagan. So that means that sometimes everything is 100% scripted. Sometimes we speak from our heart. I've been doing this for a while. I'm a practicing pagan of inching close to 25 years, which feels like a very long time. Like, that's for old people, right? People like 20 or something. So what's nice about that, by the way, in my tradition, we really think quite highly of old people. So as I inch closer to it, I feel like I'm reaching some sort of bit of wisdom. And so one of the things in our shared wisdom that we do is in spaces such as these, we create a sacredness, a gathering, a drawing in of each other. We fold one another in and welcome us into the space and designate this time with a focus and a purpose. The Unitarian Church does this as we light our chalice. So we've got, so we've got this going, our search for truth, it's on. When we are in a lot of my places, we tend to cast a circle. Running lots of energy through technology is never a good thing. So what we're going to do instead is to weave a web through our heartbeat. This is something that we all have, hopefully. I'll even invite you to put your hand on your heart if you'd like, or just notice it. Just allow your breath to be wherever it is, however it is today. Let your body be exactly as it is today. It's right and true for you. And my heartbeat echoes your heartbeat. Your heartbeat echoes mine, and all of the ancestors that have preceded us, and all of the ones to come. What a sacred, precious circle. Here we are cupped in space-time as if we are precious to the spinning blue ball, as if we're precious to one another. What a miracle. Heart to heart, may our circle be cast. Heart to heart, may our circle be cast. Heart to heart, may our circle be cast. And so it is. Blessed be. Our next musical selection that I'm offering is a song that I reach for whenever I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, overtaxed, need a little encouragement. And it's also from a Christian worldview. I'm not Christian. However, I'm pretty sure Christians feel overtaxed and burdened and need encouragement too, just like the rest of us. So while this song does use words like heaven and hell, I'm asking if you would mind just going with me on this for a moment, just suspend some of the baggage around it and just hold those words lightly. Maybe heaven is a goal that you clearly see. You know exactly where you're going and how you're going to get there. Maybe hell is the weird uncertainty and soup of 2020 that is constantly changing. And we have no idea how we're going to get through the next day, the next month, the next moment, the next crisis. That's real.
beautiful. Thank you for that. That is going to be on my regular repertoire of music to listen to. Absolutely. Okay. And of course, we want to talk about offering. It is important for us to be able to continue the work of the church. So we offer the gentle reminder that this community of faith is supported only by your giving. We need each other, and in times of trial, we need each other even more. You may mail your gift to First Unitarian Church, P.O. Box 494, Alton, Illinois, 62002, or you can give electronically by searching for the First Unitarian Church of Alton on the Givelify app or via the link on your webpage. We also have a PayPal link now on our website, so if you prefer to give via PayPal, by all means, go ahead and do that. Give what you will, for you are a generous people. And please join me with our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love
and seek justice.
Right in meditation, Michelle. Do you want to use words here?
I'll say some words and then we'll run into the audio. Yeah. So thank you for going with me on that. I wasn't sure if some praise music was ready, if the community was ready for that. So thank you. I adore it. My meditations tend to start with either incredible gratitude, right? Like I'm just moved to, oh my gosh, thank you. Just, I don't know. I don't even know who's listening. Thank you. Right. Or what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I've lost my way. I've lost my way. I've lost my way again. I've had the grace to find my way once before, twice before, 100 times before, after I've gotten lost. And I'm lost again. But I promise you, I'll be all right. If I warm it up with love, I promise you I'll be all right. And that's what we do. What's interesting is love looks a little different sometimes. Sometimes love looks like staying separate and distant from one another physically. Sometimes love looks like thanking your body for carrying you through another day. Sometimes love looks like, Mama Earth, thank you for raising us. We are sometimes an ungrateful child. Thank you. We're working on it. We're growing more wise. So I'm just going to offer some space to rest in however it is you pray or meditate or contemplate, to just allow the clenched parts of you, the clenched thoughts, the bracing, just allow it all to soften and rest here in our meditation space.
Okay, we have two readings for today, one a little bit more extensive and one just a very few sentences that are meant to evoke some thoughts, some reflection on this time of year means to us. So the first reading is from the book, A Witch's Book of Silence by Karina Blackheart. The Witch's Pyramid: to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. These four actions form the foundation, corner, frame, and walls of the pyramid, which is a sacred geometric form, structure, and a container. As part of the cycle of power, silence is akin to the time between sowing and Yule. It is a time and a space of waiting. The nights grow longer and longer. We are left little choice but to stay indoors, sit, and succumb. We watch the last leaves fall from bare branch to frozen earth. We busy ourselves making slow-cooking soups. We stir the coals in the fireplace. We awaken well before dawn's light. We shuffle in a half-dream, wondering why we are so tired, so unmotivated, so restless, and yet so enchanted by this sweet, quiet pace. There's nothing to do, just as there is a pause between inhalation and exhalation, between one life and the next. There is a pause in all cycles. Within this rest period is stillness and silence, understanding, integration, dream, gestation, and a gathering of energy for new, forward-moving activity. If we are to court the power of silence, we must be willing to engage with the powers of the north, the deep earth, the dark moon, and death itself. We recoil because what lies within and beyond them exists in the mystery. Maps are useless. Checklists disintegrate. Beyond these, there is only the susurrating voice of Shekinah, our own divine nature. She is the liminal space between waning and waxing, autumn and spring, death and rebirth, every ending and beginning. She is the pause between breaths, the rest between notes, the necessary stillness amid all meaningful activity. If we are to court the power of silence, we must evoke it from within while we invoke it from its source. We must travel those unmarked pathways, increasing our stamina and sharpening our night vision. The second reading, as I said, is really a few simple questions. This comes from the podcast called Octavia's Parables. The episode is Parable of the Sower, Chapter 2, hosted by Toshi Reagan and Adrienne Marie Brown. And the question is simply this: in your current political context, who holds the labor of empathy? Who's holding the work of empathy? Our next hymn is Honor the Dark, from This Is Leah.
Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark.
So here we are in the dark. The calendars say that very soon winter will start. And that has always been an odd thing to my pagan heart, because especially here in the Midwest of the United States, on normal, non-global warming impacted winters, it's been cold. The seasons have shifted. And thankfully in the last week or two, it feels like the weather has caught up with the calendar. So in this space, when it is dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock, we could possibly change our relationship with darkness. Listening to a podcast, Octavia's Parables, I got rocked one day. I was trying to mind my own business and go through my workday, and got rocked by the question, who's holding the work of empathy? If you have felt a little tired in 2020, you are doing the work of holding empathy. The constant shifting, the constant worrying, the back and forth, the uncertainty, trying to navigate how to hold that and feed yourself if you're so privileged, work if you're so lucky, that's a lot. So pulling that into some themes and messaging that I've always held with the winter solstice. I try not to go too quickly into the light, but there are a couple of different myths that comes along with winter solstice. One of them is the newborn child, right? It's a popular story. I suspect we'll be talking about it again very soon, where this new possibility, this new light, this new potential enters the world at the darkest, coldest, hardest time of year. That's interesting, right? It asks us to hold both. There's another myth, that's the Holly King and the Oak King. The Oak King rules over the summer and the bright and warm part of the year, and the Holly King rules over the dark and cold part of the year. And these two, often brothers, fight at this point or change the guard, depending on how you want to see it. There's a winner and a loser. And the winner is the dark, cold, hard part of the year. That story asks us to hold both. There's this continuum of holidays. We had Halloween just before. We call it Samhain in many traditions and many pagan traditions. So if you see that weird word, Samhain, or some other interesting Gaelic version where it's got a bunch of extra verbs and vowels and syllables attached to it, Samhain, that holiday asks us to hold death. And even though all of human history has spent time completely horrified, terrified of it, we also celebrate it, treat it as sacred, and know that it's coming. it asks us to hold both. Moving forward after these holidays, spring is coming. And the hard work of tilling the land, and the hard work of moving even faster, of cracking through the ice and snow and moving once again. Yet we're tired. It was cold and hard. And we don't just suddenly shake that off. Matter of fact, the next holiday hits February 2nd. And in my part of the world, it is not spring. I know calves are starting to lactate. The mothers are starting to lactate. New calves are being born, but it is not spring to especially us non-agricultural, divorced from the land. I shop at Schnucks rather than the farmer's market kind of folks. So that holiday asks us to hold both. Another thing about pagans, we love our tools. We have all kinds of interesting trappings, and sometimes they get really elaborate and honestly out of control. But there's plenty of them that are hearth tools. They're home tools. They're practical stuff. They're things that we have laying around anyway. A knife, a cup, especially my sacred coffee cup, a cauldron, a skillet, a soup bowl that you can stir and make those long, simmering, warm things to hold you over in the deep cold. So this time around, especially talking about silence and darkness, I want to lift up the cauldron and the space of holding. I want to talk about the slowing down and the weird restlessness we have, the lack of certainty, and yet the urge to make goals and plan for the future. What is this? What are we doing here? What's going on in this weird space? Well, we're holding. We're building stamina and capacity. Capacity reminds me of one last thing that I want to share with you before I move from the talky bits that usually shows up in pagan-centered rituals to the doing bits. Capacity. I've had this amazing opportunity recently to work with a group called Forward Through Ferguson. And I am part of the community governance board that is overseeing this racial justice and healing fund. It's to invest in Black and Brown communities. And of course, that means everyone who lives in the community will also benefit to heal the trauma of racism and change the conditions that built and sustain systemic racism. That's real. I carry that in this brown and Black body every day. And one of the priorities and principles that we use to decide how we allocate these funds is capacity building. And I realize that's what we're doing. During this hard, cold, this long, steady endurance race that we're doing through the entire year, maybe, through our entire lives, we're building capacity. Robin doesn't know about that I'm going to say this, but I remember many years ago, I was at her house at a party that she had been throwing with many friends. And I remember a younger, less tired me who was feeling very tired at the time. Now I look back and go, oh, honey. But it was very real to Michelle of the past. And I don't even know what it was. But I told her that I just don't have it. I don't have the thing that she has, this resilience, this ability to get back up and keep going. And I really appreciate her response. She was almost offended, flabbergasted, and frustrated by the premise of the question, as if this thing arises fully formed. She's like, no, No, that does not happen like that. It's the getting back up. It's the getting back up that builds that strength. And poor past me just was equally flabbergasted and didn't know what to do with it and just sat with that. And my dear friend just gave me a hug and let me sit with it and wrestle with it, because I still had no idea how I could possibly be that kind of human. I'm that kind of human. So are you. And occasionally we're lucky to have Robins in our lives that shows us and demonstrates that. So that way we can see it in a real living human that like we could reach out and touch or call, or at least observe this getting back up, this willingness to keep trying. So it's a little different this year. Solstice, I'm going to put up my tree today. I just didn't have it. But I want it. Nothing's important until I say it is. And I think that's important. I think the getting back up is important. I think the building is important. I think the capacity building, the practice of trying again, of resting when you need it, of asking for help. Dear God, do not go it alone. You didn't get here alone, and you will not get through your days alone. But your perspective, your inner being, unfortunately, that's you. So we invoke from outside of ourselves and evoke from within us. So in pagan practice, one of the things that most of my circles do is, so we've got the talky bits, right? So like our Unitarian super hyper intellect is fairly satisfied. Sorry, I didn't go into history and like etymological backgrounds and things like that. We live in the time of Google, but we can talk more later. But then the practice itself. So here we are separate. I'm sorry, I can't quite reach out and hold your hand and push the energy of this into your body. But I hope it's reached you in some way. So what I have to offer instead is a visualization. And this is what most of my circles, my not covens, as we call ourselves, but I've got a couple of circles, a couple of covens, a couple of working groups of amazing humans still working, still practicing, separate. So I invite you into this space. Let's play make-believe together. What's interesting about this is it arose in a space of darkness at night, laying in bed. This visualization arose fully formed, like things do in the dark, in the cold, when you give it time to arise. So, cauldrons holding. Remember all of those paradoxes, those places in you that are a bunch of that and a bunch of this and a hot mess in between? What if we visualized a cauldron or a container, your favorite cup, your favorite bowl, your own cupped hands? It's all good. Remember, pagan, practical, hearth, home, stuff you already got, things that you can carry with you everywhere. Think about that as a container and allow these disparate parts of yourself to pour into it. It can take it. You walk around with this stuff all day, and it goes. Why don't we put our hopes and fears in there? I'm sure you have a few. And it goes. Feel them, think about them. You can give them names, full sentences, or just the feeling. It's all good. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing it just right. And it goes. Oh, how about our assumptions? Yeah, assumptions are good. In they go. How about the purviews and viewpoints, the window panes that we see the world through? Definitely. In they go. How about that tiny little voice that wonders if you're wrong? That wonders if you don't actually know anything. Yeah. In it goes. Your lived experiences. Your friends' lived experiences. What about the things you've read about or only seen online or through photos? They all form us. All of it's in there. So in it goes.
What?
What about your support structures? Hey, church family. Yep, in you go. Those watching from another time, another place, maybe even not yet a part of our community. You too, in you go. Hi, you're welcome here. Disparate communities, other faith traditions. Yep, in you go. You're on this blue ball too, right? Yeah, in you go. And I'll just give you a moment. Anything else that feels right to just add. Feel free to just let it pour into the container of holding that is your life. And if you'll bear with me, I'm going to pray. Holy Shekinah, dear Mother God, be with us in this darkness and light. Pray for our courage to rest in here, in the darkness, and emerge transformed. Please show us the work of the cauldron that is the place holding both this and that. Help us learn from the past and present so we may bring forth future wisdom. Holy Shekinah, dear Mother God, be with us in this darkness and light, doing the sacred work of holding. Stir your cauldron, your container. Mix it all. Feel free to just stir. Allow it to mix and meld. Let something new arise from this creation. This new and particular blend that did not exist yesterday. Holy Shekinah, dear Mother God, Aga Sophia, the living word, our higher self, our guardian angel, call in your highest, deepest wisdom, even your future selves. Help us. Stir. Our human capacity feels so small to hold all of this, so much joy, so much sorrow, such paradox and uncertainty. Our human capacity feels so large to hold all of this. Help us make sense of it and find our way through. Holy Shekinah, dear Mother God, dear Father God, dear God who is in us, of us, is us. Stir, contemplate, and pray, each into your own way. How about some garnish of hope? Yeah, that's just about right. That's the soup of the day. Feel free to drink up, carry it with you, sip from it when you need it throughout the day, maybe even the days to come. Know that you hold all of that. That's a lot. You're kind of a big deal. Blessed be.
Mental chant, earth, air, fire, and water. I hope that this time of reflection has been fruitful for you. Couldn't tell if I'm still muted. I'm not. Okay, good. Just wanted to be sure. We have a few announcements for the week. Number one, I want to thank everybody who donated for the Oasis Women's Center. I know that Mary has already sent out emails to everybody who donated, but we want to continue to thank those who gave of their time, money to be able to support a family at the Oasis Women's Center. I know that's something that we like to do annually, and we're very grateful that we were able to continue to do this even via online. With our online services. We also are still continuing to support our Fourth Saturday mission. So if anybody would like to continue to donate, please do. And those funds then will be used to purchase gift cards for Dollar General or Dollar Tree, and we'll be donating them. So if you have an opportunity to please donate to our Fourth Saturday Mission, you could do that through Givelify or to send a check to our PO box. We would appreciate that. On Christmas Eve, Thursday evening, Tracy and I will be leading a Christmas Eve Vesper service, something simple, a few hymns, some readings, nothing fancy, but just a way for everybody to feel connected on Christmas Eve. If you have not joined us previously for these services, the fact that they're online now will make it a little easier to be able to do that. So expect to see some notification about that for 7 o'clock. I believe we said we were going to do it. Tracy, is that what we agreed, 7 o'clock? I'm trying to remember now.
I think so.
That's what
I remember.
That's what I remember as well.
That's what I'm planning.
Okay, same here. So somewhere between 7 and 8, we'll be doing
yes.
a lovely live Vesper service for everybody to join us on the YouTube here. I mean, the Zoom link, same link that we use for our Sunday service. And to Michelle's point, yes, we're going to hear that story coming up about the child that was born, which wasn't really born in December, but we're going to honor his birth anyway. And then next Sunday is our burning bowl service. And we were hoping to do it live, but given everybody in struggles and what have you, I am going to be doing it here myself at my home. If you would like to send things to me that I will formally burn in my chimney, I am happy to accept that. Feel free to email me. It's robinberkley@yahoo.com, ROBINBERKLEY@yahoo.com. Feel free. I will hold your names sacred, and that will be private, but I will read, if you are comfortable, read out loud the thing that you want to get rid of for this year as we move into 2021 with more hope and joy. So feel free to do that, or, we'll figure it out. Private message me on Facebook or what have you, whatever way you want to get messages to me, and we'll have more information out there for you. So we'll do a modified service for next Sunday live. I pre-recorded, it won't be live, and me reading those things for you. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have on our list of things? If you have anything that you would like to have us announce, please feel free to leave messages with the church office or via email at church@firstuualton.org. And I will see you all next week. Well, Christmas Eve, hopefully, and then next week for our service. All right. Any other announcements by anybody way out there in the nether worlds?
Well, on the subject of burning things, I heard from a friend of mine that they're going to engage in a either virtual or socially distant 2020 calendar burning party. And I've got my little, burning fire pit out back, and I think, come January 1st, I'm going to have a little bonfire of all my 2020 calendars. I think it's a good idea.
I'm on board with that, Mike. Absolutely.
Yeah. Although, up here, traditionally in our neighborhood, on January 6th or so, the Epiphany, we have the Christmas trees are all burned over in our local park. And maybe we could just throw the calendars on then too. I don't know.
That works for me as well. I'm good with that. Whatever it takes.
I know it's a very pagan sort of idea that it would have any effect on things, but it
never know.
It seems a very pleasing idea. Psychologically, it seems like a good thing to do.
And the thing is, Mike, it's like what we put out to the universe, we get back. So if we're trying to let go of 2020 for whatever reasons, even under normal times, right? We let the past go and we look to the future no matter what. And as Michelle said, reminded me of that conversation so long ago. You just got to get back up. You know, like the Buddha says, you fall down 6 times, you get up 7. And that's what you have to keep doing. So that's what we'll do as for next week or on Epiphany or whatever day holds dear for you to get rid of the stuff. We're going to get rid of it. It's time to put the good energy out there. Marvelous. Anything else? All right. And we shall move on to the extinguishing of our chalice. So if you have lit a candle, please join me in extinguishing your chalice and repeating the words on the slide above. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. And the snoring in the background is my dog at my feet. Okay, my dog is ready to go. All right, I think, Michelle, some closing words, releasing our circle, and we move on from there.
Yes. Thank you very much for spending your Sunday morning with us, or whenever you get a chance to spend some time with us. I hope you can carry any piece that was inspirational, encouraging, transformational, anything, even just seeing human faces that are happy to see you. That feels like a good thing to carry forward. We still have our heartbeats. We still have this circle. And even though we're pulling it back in so that way we can walk again as individuals, we don't lose this collective. We don't lose God. We don't lose Shekinah. That descent, that invocation into the eternal continues. You are the circle. You are complete, whole, and precious to this universe, unto yourself. Heartbeat to heartbeat, we've released the circle. Yes, it is open, but unbroken. Merry meet, merry part, and let us merry meet again.
Okay.
Thank you.